Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, depending on when you're joining us from or where you're joining us from. We're here today in this episode or chapter of the Skill Development Program organized by ourselves at Insights with the Clean Energy Business Council. And we're going to actually send a big thank you to the Clean Energy Business Council for helping us put this together. They're a great partner and we love to work with them. And we wanted to offer you or to be able to talk about this issue of digitalization that has been coming up more and more as one of the big innovation trends within the energy industry. And we have with us today four people who know a lot about this topic and who are going to be able to tell us what is it that they are doing, their companies are doing in terms of digitalization, big data, Internet of Energy, etc. Some of these big issues that are really disrupting the way that this industry goes forward. We're also very international here today. We were just chatting before we went live, and people are joining us here today from many different places. So let me introduce you first so that you know who's talking to you each time. First place we have Katarina Hasbani. Katarina, can you say hi?
Hello, Belen. Hello, everyone. I'm the founder of Inrapt, and I'm joining you from Brussels.
From Brussels. I myself am joining from Madrid as well. So the next person I'd like to ask is Mohammed Atif. Can you introduce yourself and where you're joining us from?
Good afternoon. It's Mohammed Atif, Area Manager DNVGL, today from Dubai.
Excellent. Next person, Kai, where are you joining us from?
Hello, my name is Kai Schlabitz. I'm Smart Grid Architect at Schneider Electric, and today I'm joining from Germany.
Excellent. So far, Brussels, Dubai, Germany. We also have with us Dave Turk, that will be joining in about 5 minutes from the International Energy Agency, who's joining from Paris. So as you can see, geographically quite different places. I would be very happy to hear also where you guys are joining from. Just, make sure that you share with all attendees in the chat and let us know who's in the house, so to speak. Just before we begin, we'll begin promptly. I just wanted to give you two announcements. One, we are recording this session, okay? And we will be sending it to you in a couple of days to everyone that signed up, a link where you can watch it. And we also have the presentations from the speakers. You will be able to download this on PDF in the same page that we send you where you can watch the recordings. So both the recordings and the presentations will be fully available to all of you in a couple of days. Just before I give the floor to Katarina, who's going to be our first speaker, I'd like to ask you guys a question. I always like to do this so that we know a little bit who's in the room and what are you guys thinking. I know it's the first time we talk about digitalization, so I'm expecting, that the level of work that you've done in this area may vary. So just so that we get can you throw the first poll, please, Laila, so that you guys can see it? Let me see if we can actually see it in your, okay. So it's simple. It says, what digitalization efforts are you currently undertaking in your company? And this is also for the panelists. And digitalization is such a big word, isn't it? Like big data is such a big word. Maybe what you're doing is very, very small. It's just a little bit. You're starting to do some stuff, put some stuff on the cloud. Maybe you're actually looking very seriously in some areas where you think there's the biggest gains. Are you doing data analytics? You probably are. You have connected equipment that's already taking intelligent solutions by themselves. Is there machine learning being applied to any of your processes? Are you looking into big data and how you can actually utilize big data for better profits, better processes? Are you going all out and going for blockchain? And I know that this is an area where there is a lot of at the moment talk, but there's also a lot of doubts. Artificial intelligence, have you gone really that far? And I'm sure there are some companies out there that have already identified everything, or even artificial intelligence. Are you looking at other things that I may have not mentioned because there's so many, or none of the above? We're absolutely doing nothing at the moment. And now are people voting? How's it going? Oh, what happened? Yeah, can you just put it up? I'm sorry, we had some technical issues here. What happened? Oh, here we go. Okay, so I see. So no one is doing artificial intelligence, no one is doing machine learning. This is not surprising, by the way. These industries are just starting, the tools, but I thought, let me ask, because sometimes we have really technological savvy people out here. Connected equipment is the most often. None of the above. The second would be none of the above. So we're doing nothing at the moment. Some people are doing data analytics. Some people are looking into big data. Clearly, some people have the blockchain buyers already thinking into this. You know, the price is really high at the moment, or other solutions. So, you know, just so that you can just close this now, so that now we know who's in the room. Katerina, now I'd like for you to go ahead and give us your presentation, and then we'll take it from there. We have another question for the audience, but later on. Okay, so you can put just that on large screen, and then you're ready to go. Perfect. All right, Katerina, you go.
Fantastic, Belen. So, Enwrapped is on mission to build partnerships between energy startups and corporations. Partnerships where new ideas thrive and get executed. And our mission is part of a larger vision, which is a vision to identify what will be the building blocks of an energy company of the future. And digitalization is definitely one of those building blocks. Today, the global digitalization market is already worth $50 billion globally in the energy sector, and is projected to grow to $64 billion by 2025. What I want to talk about today are three trends in relation to digitalization, three issues. The first one is, how does digitalization fit in within their overall energy transformation? I will talk about how to evaluate the innovations that relate to digitalization in energy, and finally I will touch upon the customer-centric approach and what does it mean for energy companies. So digitalization, of course, is one of the trends of energy transition, but it's also the enabler for the other two, decarbonization and decentralization. Decarbonization means shift to cleaner energy sources in the mix, and decentralization means shift to smaller modular systems. There are three ways that digitalization can build value across the supply chain of energy. The first one, of course, is by boosting the existing processes, by making them more efficient, better, and faster in terms of deployment. A good example here, and I will try to give concrete examples as I speak, but if you need more, please, we can do that during the Q&A or write me on the chat. So a good example of digitalization building value in the existing processes is smart grids deployment, and especially, and I look at this from the lens of developing countries and emerging economies, it is of course reducing power outages or reducing the times in reaction to power outages. There are a few countries who have successful examples from this in Asia, but also in Europe. For example, Bosnia and Herzegovina between 2015 and 2016 successfully reduced reaction times in the case of power outages on the back of smart grids. Digitalization also contributes to decarbonization by making decarbonization smoother and faster. There are a few examples that I have here. One is also use of smart grids, especially for integration of renewable power in our power systems, but also digital technologies can improve operation and maintenance of renewable installations. One of the startups that I recently featured on Unwrapped is Ava Asia, that has a drone solution that uses big data for predictive analytics, and it optimizes overall performance of solar farms, and it actually improves the efficiency by 20%. And finally, when it comes to decentralization, digitalization is truly the enabler. It helped to speed up creation of a market for decentralized energy solutions. I work quite actively in the field of microgrids development and standalone solar systems development. So there we can look at few examples. One that I have is a technology solutions that is a power conversion system for microgrids. And what it does, it uses intelligent charging algorithms that extend the lifetime of batteries by 30%. So in terms of economics of microgrid projects, it really makes a difference. Now, of course, the question that everyone asks is, how do you make a difference between what is the winning and losing solution? And I guess everyone has their own methodology. I wanted to share mine. Typically, when it comes to a startup or a solution, I look at three angles. The winning solution has to have an innovative hardware, it has to have a digital technology, and it has to have an innovative business model. When it comes to the hardware, you know, it can be anything as traditional as a engine or a power generator using natural gas, or it can be really an innovative drone. In terms of digital, of course, what we hear a lot are the new technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, but it can be simply gathering data and analyzing it for a better performance of the equipment. In terms of what does it really mean, innovative business model, the way I look at it is how the money flows through the system. So practically what does it mean is that when someone comes to me and tells me, you know, I have this fantastic energy storage or energy battery solution, I usually tell them it's not enough anymore. In addition to that, you have to have a capability to gather data, to analyze it, to translate it into predictive analytics solution, and have very innovative tie-ups with the project developers or equipment manufacturers. The good news in relation to all of this is that we are building systems that anticipate the needs of the customers. Not so good news is, and you can really look at it as an opportunity, is that the energy companies of the future will need to have a different talent base. And that's what I would like to talk about to finish off. In terms of customers, what we have been used to is designing systems by engineers for engineers. But actually today we are designing systems by engineers for non-technical users. And again, microgrids are an excellent example because the microgrid developers that I'm in touch with design systems that are operated remotely. They are trying to design systems where the engineer intervenes very rarely. So they do it through digital technologies. On the other hand, the same industry, the decentralized industry, is challenged to provide, in addition to energy services, non-energy value. By non-energy value, I mean service that is not anymore kilowatt hours or energy supply. For example, the distributors of standalone solar solutions are asked to provide other services. This can be, for example, telco top-ups, it can be banking services, or it can be distribution of appliances or equipment that is used for productive uses. So what does this all mean for the energy companies and their teams is that engineering, of course, continues to be the basis for the talent pool in an energy company, but it has to be complemented by other skills, digital skills that are able to deliver not only the energy value, but also the value for non-energy related services. So, 3 takeaways that I hope you will remember from this very short presentation, and I'm happy to discuss it in the Q&A or on the side, is that when approaching digitalization and new offer in this digitalization in energy market, I would think of how does it fit in the bigger picture of energy transition, especially decarbonization and decentralization. I would recommend to look for 3 different types of innovations in solutions: the hardware, the digital technologies, and innovative business models. And I would also suggest to focus not only on the energy value for the customer, but also the non-energy services and how it can be better reflected in the teams that you put together in order to enable digitalization in energy. Thank you, Belen, and I'm happy to continue in the discussion.
Thank you very much, Katarina. You can see Katarina's details there if you want to contact her, or of course there is the Q&A box for you if you want to ask any questions. I'm going to ask, we're going to keep going now until in the end we will do the Q&A. So Mohammed, can I hear from you? And whilst Mohammed is preparing his presentation, he's unmuted his mic and he is sharing his screen. I'm just going to make a comment about this whole thing with decentralization. It's obviously very interesting. It's I think energy companies have to stop thinking as the, okay, you know, the consumer, my client is the end user and that's it, I sell a service, and they start thinking how to get their clients into their own network, because they're now prosumers, correct? So, very good. Are you ready, Mohammed? Perfect. Off you go then.
I am ready. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, great, great. That's great. That's great. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks for this opportunity. It's highly topical, and you know, the title around digitalization and also hinting at customer centricity and new business models and new ways to capture value going forward. So, what I will do is identify really in the energy value chain as we see it, the various areas that we're seeing the application of different ways of let's say managing data due to the installation of numerous sensors and equipment and etc. And also new ways of interpreting that data and gaining value from it. So just looking at this diagram very quickly, you know, if I take the sun and the wind farms, in order to capture more value, we're trying to install better and more accurate sensors. We're trying to take as much data with as fine a granularity as possible, and in the end to predict weather trends, how they translate into production, and when is the best time to produce, and all kinds of availability and asset management strategies to essentially maximize production. What can we do? How can we use data? How can we use sensors and technology and algorithms to better forecast and maximize production? And that's all assisted by the control systems, etc. If I skip forward a little bit and then look at how we deliver that energy, or it could be water actually, but what we look at is the resilience and the stability, availability, and security of the grid, whether it's interconnected grid or whether it's a mini grid. And one of the ways of effectively maximizing availability is to develop asset management strategies based upon observed data or at least learned data on likelihood of faults, matching demand peaks with supply, managing maintenance, isolating faults before they occur. And this is done in two ways. One is by monitoring sensors, and the other way is obviously capturing data and analyzing that data, and then applying algorithms which give you probabilistic likelihood of events occurring. And or if an event does occur or is about to occur, you've got some pattern, some idea of what it could be, and therefore you can quickly isolate and treat that. And finally, at the end use, at the customer use, customer side, it's how to improve short-term, long-term forecasting. The more accurate your short-term and long-term forecasting, the more accurate your management of your grid, and the more accurate the size and optimization of your entire production and value chain. Now, if you can improve your forecast accuracy at the end by just a few %, depending on the size of the grid, this could translate into billions of dollars. So that brings me to the value of data. So this is, I don't know if you've seen some of these journals where, the sort of the new gold, or sometimes they're called data, the new oil. This is where all the value is. This is what is the commodity that drives the world now. So in this sense, what is now increasingly fascinating for myself is what we're trying to achieve. Obviously, more efficiency. We're trying to achieve more security. See that in revenue protection, better customer focus, better customer satisfaction, response times, etc. And what we've got now, and what we're trying to handle, are interconnected systems of both centralized and decentralized systems, renewable, non-renewable, plus the integration, augmentation of electric vehicles as modes of transport, but also as prosumers, interactors within an energy system. All kinds of funky analytics at the moment, from looking at an electric vehicle fleet and transport flows to how would they interact with huge shopping malls, especially here in Dubai. How faults could be prevented. We had a fault recently where the whole of the Dubai mall power system went down, and then we did some analyses on if X thousand cars were actually connected and plugged in, how that they could have acted as backup, for example. So all kinds of innovative, agile thinking going on there. So the two areas we're really focusing upon and applying digitalization and learning, etc., is energy and water efficiency, and also renewables. And we see this combined, optimized solutions, very, very data-driven. End-use metering technologies, understanding consumption behavior, trying to augment and predict consumer behavior with respect to certain policies. And all of this, the nice thing about all of this, it contributes to my values and company's values, and that is of helping to create a more efficient, greener, happier sort of future. I think this is, for me, a digitalization, being customer-centric. Yes, there is the ability to capture more value and profitability in the value chain, but if we manage to achieve this transition, I'm hoping that we can build a better world for our children in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. You sound like a technical guy and then also a politician. Wow, better world. I agree, by the way. You've put it really nicely. Okay, let's keep going with the presentations. Okay, questions and answers to the box. We'll take them at the end. Okay, it's your turn. So if you can just unmute your. Oh, actually, Mohammed, can you stop sharing your screen so that I can share his? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I will introduce you to EcoStruxure Grid, our digitalization architecture of Schneider Electric for utilities. We already heard from Katerina about the trends currently ongoing in the market. So we see decarbonization, digitalization, and decentralization as central trends which are affecting the utility industry today. We see major challenges for utilities, like aging infrastructure, more flexibility necessary in the supply chain. We see the rollout of different techniques like smart meters, and we are seeing also the trend from distribution network operators to distribution system operators throughout the world. And we see distribution utilities at the core of the new world of energy. Based on these trends and requirements of the market, we have developed an Internet of Things enabled architecture called EcoStruxure Grid. This is dedicated for utilities to address their needs regarding digital solutions. These architecture is based on 3 levels. We have the connected products at the bottom as base and fundament of the solution. We have an edge control layer for real-time applications like substation operation, microgrid operation, or advanced metering solutions. And on top, we have apps, analytics, and services, which are really in the core of the utility to address the digital needs of them. These apps, these 3 layers are very well connected, and it's necessary to connect them because these different bricks are sharing information through the whole utility. For example, from the connected products, our protection relays, these information were shared with the substation operation system and finally transmitted to our advanced distribution management system on the apps and analytics layer. In these layers, the solution systems are also communicating between each other on the so-called enterprise service bus, for example, exchanging network models between our georeferenced information system and our advanced distribution system, or, for example, smart metering information to the ADMS to support outage management solutions. So we have this open architecture, and we typically are applying these solutions together with the utilities. So we are starting with checking what are the current status of their installation, where we can support the rollout of digital solutions and define a perfect fit for the utility. I would like to share 3 projects with you where we have supported the digitalization of our customers. One example is Electro, where we improved the SAIDI for certain feeders from 90 minutes to 1 minute. How can we do this? This can be done by introduction of an IoT solution called self-healing grid. That means reinstalling remote terminal units which are communicating directly to each other to identify, in case of a failure, a point which is most where the failure is expected, and these devices, without any control of operators, can switch off the faulty part of the network and resupply the remaining parts of the network, so that the customers are very fast back to power. Another example where we are using our IoT and digitalization capabilities to support customers is our advanced distribution management system. For example, the Italian customer Enel, we supported them to avoid energy losses. Another portion inside the ADMS which is really topic for digitalization is the outage management feature. In this outage management feature, we are integrating information from smart metering devices. We are connecting, we are registering calls from smart meters, loss of power events, and we can really fast define the location of outages. What's also the ADMS is in many cases really the core of the utility's operational technology and needs input and interfaces to many other company systems. The last project I want to introduce is our smart metering project with Fortum, where we have around about 1 million smart meters installed. So we have capabilities to roll out and collect the information from smart meters. And these digital solution, compared to the manual reading we have performed over the last years, can support, for example, or is necessary for many digitalization technologies we have in the utility. So the smart meters can use, of course, for billing. They can use for the ADMS integration, for better outage management, and, for example, for doing LV monitoring, low voltage monitoring, due to problems we face by injecting more and more photovoltaic generation inside the low voltage grid. In this case here in Fortum, we have rolled out the smart meters. We are providing the central software with the advanced metering infrastructure and meter data management system, and we are also doing the operation of the complete system. So these are some of the solutions we are doing with Schneider Electric. So, but it starts typically really with a discussion with the customer, explaining the benefits of the different solutions and tailoring a fitting solution for the customer needs. So this was a very fast introduction of the architecture and some projects. And if you have more questions to any of the solutions and any of the project, don't hesitate to contact Schneider Electric, and we will be very happy to support you on your digital challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kay. Excellent. If you can stop sharing the screen, because it's now Dave's turn. We have had some questions already in the chat, and I also have some questions for you guys. Dave, if you can unmute your microphone and then share the screen so that we can see your presentation, that would be great. Thank you very much. Your microphone is still muted, so we wouldn't be able to hear you at the moment, Dave. Let me see. Oh, perfect. Now we're good. Go ahead.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Billin, and thanks to the Clean Energy Business Council for having the IEA, the International Energy Agency, join our other distinguished panelists today. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, at least virtually, from a very cold and rainy Paris. So the IEA has worked on digitalization in the energy space for many years. We focused on smart grids. We focused on smart charging for electric vehicles, for example. But what we've done for the very first time, and what I'll present findings from, is a report on all of digitalization in energy, really trying to answer the fundamental question of whether the energy sector is entering a new digital era or a digital age. So we had literally 30 or so of us from across the IEA agency, from efficiency to renewables to data and statistics to transport, industry, buildings. All of our teams come together for this report, and I'll share the findings of what we all brought to the table. Again, trying to answer the question, are we really entering a new era of digitalization in energy? So let me first start with a slide just showing digitalization trends more generally. This may come second nature to a lot of the folks who are on this webinar, but useful just to highlight how much things are changing and how quickly and at what scale things are changing. So you see in front of you just one indicator of the scale and pace of change that we're seeing in the digital world more generally. This is internet traffic. Obviously very small in 1987. You see a very, very small dot there at the left of your screen, growing increasingly over the 10-year periods of time, and then to the point in 2017 in the zettabyte era where it doesn't even fit on the screen. So it just shows the, in some ways, the ubiquity of data, the ubiquity of internet traffic, smartphones, et cetera. And you see there at the bottom, internet data traffic growing exponentially, tripling over the past 5 years. The other statistic that gets a lot of people's attention is the fact that there are now more mobile phone subscriptions in the world than there are people in the world. So again, just showing the ubiquity of digitalization and digital tools, digital technologies in our broader economy. So what does this mean for the energy space? First of all, digital technologies use energy. And because of these increasing data centers, increasing smartphones, increasing sensors around the world, we did some original analysis to look where we are right now in terms of how much ICT technology uses energy, electricity in particular, and then looking ahead, how much is that likely to use, how much is ICT technology likely to use in the years ahead, both medium term and then longer term. What you see on your screen there towards the right is data center electricity use. Right now, it's about 1% of global electricity use going to data center. That's the 2014 bar, which is the last year we have the best number for. What's quite interesting, and our findings on data centers largely track with our findings on data transmission networks, is because of increased efficiency in all sorts of ways, especially more hyperscale data centers being used in the future, our projections going ahead, at least over the next several years, next 3 to 5 years, is we're not going to see huge increases in electricity use from the ICT sector, at least in data centers and data network transmission. Huge continued efficiency gains will largely be able to keep the electricity use largely in check. So you actually see there on the data center side only a 3% increase, which is quite remarkable given the huge additional data center usage and proliferation going on in the world. But that's just one part of the story on ICT, digital technologies, and energy in terms of direct energy use. The other part, which a lot of our other panelists have already gotten into, is what do these digital tools mean for efficiency, for decarbonization, for other policy objectives that countries and companies throughout the world are after. So we went sector by sector and looked at digitalization's impact in a variety of different sectors. For instance, on transport, we found that digital solutions for trucks and logistics could reduce energy use for road freight by 20 to 25%. That's a pretty significant number, especially the importance of trucks and road freight around the world. We looked at autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles and shared mobility and those phenomena all happening together. What does that mean for the passenger transport side? Right now, the numbers there are quite variable. It goes everywhere from all of these efficiencies coming together and reducing energy use in the passenger transport side by half. Or if you have more pessimistic assumptions of efficiency, especially a lot of rebound effect. That is, if it's autonomous vehicles and it's easier for all of us to take autonomous vehicles rather than mass transit, for instance, there are some estimates out there that energy use could actually double in the transport side. Obviously, huge implications not only for energy use, but for decarbonization and for other societal objectives as well, and a lot of uncertainty on that front. On the buildings front, our overall takeaway number there is a 10% reduction because of digitalization by 2040. If we use more smart thermostats, smart LEDs, a variety of the different efficiency technologies in the buildings space. And then a variety of industry will be impacted as well. We're already seeing that in a variety of different companies and different industries. But with 3D printing, artificial intelligence, digital twins, the whole range, predictive maintenance, there's a huge opportunity space for a variety of companies out there. So that's the energy demand sectors, if you will. On the supply side, we also see some pretty significant impacts. So in the oil and gas sector, our estimates are that digitalization could decrease production costs by another 10 to 20%, and recovery could be enhanced, at least technical recovery, could be enhanced by 5%, especially with big impacts in the more upstream side of things for oil and gas. Coal can also see some increased efficiencies and safety improvements, but overall, our assessment is less than some of the other sectors we'll see for a variety of reasons. And then the power sector is really the sector that may have the most impact of all due to ICT technologies. And let me just drill down a little bit on that in a couple slides here. This is a graphic of the sort of traditional pre-digital energy system, if you will. You've got large and historically thermal power plants, some large hydro, increasingly wind and solar, in a unidirectional electricity flow going to industry, buildings, commercial applications. What digitalization offers is a real chance to have going to a multi-directional, highly integrated energy system. Smart grids are actually more appropriately labeled smart energy systems because it very much goes beyond the electricity grid to the grid edge, and a number of other presenters got into this. Let me just give you a few bottom line numbers for the phenomena that might be possible here due to digitalization. We in our report cataloged 4 different phenomena. One is smart demand response, the Internet of Things. We look at some estimates 2040 that there can be around 1 billion households that are connected in smart demand response, 11 billion connected appliances. And of course, smart demand response, for those, and many folks on this webinar may be working in this space, allows a greater efficiency, allows a greater matching of supply and demand, and having the demand side less just receiving electricity and more being able to time when it receives that electricity and modulating its needs on that front. We estimate that overall, if you enable this 1 billion consumers, 11 billion connected appliances, you could add about 185 gigawatts of demand flexibility. That's a huge number. Just to put it in financial terms, about 270 billion US dollars in avoided electricity infrastructure investment. So huge potential there on the smart energy system side of things. That's just one phenomena. You see transport, an electric car down at the bottom. If you have EV smart charging with the number of electric vehicles we're predicting in the world. So let's just use a 500 million electric vehicles over the medium term, which is in line with some of the estimates out there. That's an additional savings if those are connected via smart charging, that is timing when the car is charged, of 280 billion US dollars in avoided investment. So again, a huge additional economic opportunity, efficiency opportunity going forward. The third related phenomena is the integration of variable renewables. So if electric vehicles and smart demand response in buildings and industry are the demand side, integrating variable renewables in smarter ways with that demand is the other side of the equation, if you will. And we did a case study looking at the European Union in particular, and found that smart technologies along with storage could reduce curtailment rates from around 7% projected to 2040 to 1.6%. So huge, again, possibilities of making the system overall much more efficient. And then the fourth related phenomena, which was mentioned again by a few of our presenters, is decentralization, blockchain, some of the solar PV on households. Digitalization can unlock some of the bidirectional flows of that electricity at the household level in a variety of different applications, both in interesting ways in developed worlds, which already have grids built out to a lot of the society, but also, in very importantly, in areas of the world where there is not energy access currently. There's some really interesting digital technologies that can come to play in Africa and India and other places, more mini grid technology, pay as you go over your cell phone, over your mobile phone systems that can unlock some energy access opportunities as well. Just a few slides on some of the challenges. So I've talked mostly on the opportunity space of what digital can bring in the energy space, but there are serious challenges that need to be navigated by policymakers and companies as well. The one that probably gets the most attention is cyber attacks. What do we do on that front? To date, we catalog this in our report, and I should say our report is now available on our website. Here's a hard copy of it, but very importantly, we've got an interactive web tool, web interface as well. You can just do a search on Google and you'll find it. All of our findings free and accessible to anybody. We've cataloged the cyber disruptions we've seen in energy, the publicly available ones, and so far they've been.
Dave, I don't know why, but your microphone has gone off. So if you can unmute it again.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
Don't worry.
I think we're back on track. But we see some concerns about cyber attacks. A lot of people have written about this. They're becoming easier and cheaper. A number of them mentioned there. And digitalization also increases what we're calling, and others have called, the cyber attack surface. So if you think of those 11 billion connected devices in a smart energy system, those are all at least theoretically cyber attack possibilities, areas of possibility for the broader system. What we conclude in our report, and this is very consistent with other experts, is full prevention of these cyber attacks on the energy systems is impossible, but there's a lot of things businesses, governments can do to really limit the impact: raising awareness, cyber hygiene, standard setting, staff training. And the term we've used is digital resilience, really building in digital resilience into your systems from the get-go, so that they will be more resilient when they do get attacked and will have less of an impact going forward. The other concern, there's two other kind of cross-cutting concerns, is privacy. This is just an example of electricity load, if you will, from a UK household with various spikes corresponding to different uses in that household of electricity. Now, it doesn't take too much to really see which ones of those spikes are responsible for different types of activity in that household. So you see refrigerator overnight, kettle first thing in the morning, toaster, washing machine, oven preheating, oven cycling, stovetop, kettle, etc. Again, since it's a UK household with a lot of tea being drunk throughout the day, especially at night. Certain societies have a greater tolerance for some of this information being accessible for utilities. For others, others are more conscious of their privacy in getting out there. So one thing we highlight in our report are a variety of different ways policymakers can deal with the privacy concerns, but still have this information available for smart energy systems, for smart demand response, anonymizing this kind of behavior, having a bit of a time lag to it, having systems for aggregators to come in and take some of the information at a household level and getting some economic benefit from it. But this will be an area that policymakers will really need to manage in significant ways. The third one we document, the third cross-cutting concern, is economic disruption, not only to business models, but to jobs, importantly. And we look at different sectors in the energy space about what impacts there might be from digitalization in different parts of the energy sectors. And obviously a number of organizations and others are looking at digitalization's impact more globally on the energy economy. We conclude our report with a series of policy recommendations, especially for government policymakers. What can they do now to, if not get ahead of the curve, at least not get washed away from the tidal wave of digitalization coming their way? Some of these are very commonsensical. Some are more specific and some are more generic. So everything from building digital expertise within staffs. We've found in our discussions with a lot of policymakers around the world, there's not a lot of expertise, digital expertise, for some of these energy ministries and regulators making decisions that will be important going forward. Building flexibility, number 3, building flexibility into policies. ICT technology changes over so quickly, certainly software, but even hardware. If we don't design flexibility into these energy policies, it's going to be very difficult and disruptive to change those policies so frequently. Better to build in some flexibility in terms of how the technology may play out over time. Number 4, experimenting, including learning by doing. Difficult to predict sometimes how the technology, policy, and human behavior all combines in this space going forward. Doing some learning by doing pilot projects to see how it works in a certain smaller part of your jurisdiction before rolling that out to the whole entire jurisdiction is a prudent way to go forward. And then number 10, and this is where the IEA will certainly be focused, is learning from others. We've got a whole series of case studies, cautionary tales in our report, things where certain jurisdictions have made policies and it's worked out well, and other times where it's not worked out so well. And our sense is there's a lot of both interest and appetite among governments, but working with private sector associations and companies and others to really try to learn from each other as we're all going through this revolution on the energy side of things. So just a few conclusions. If our question with this broad cross-cutting approach was answering the question or trying to answer the question, are we entering a new digital era in energy? Our conclusion is yes, we are entering a new era in energy. We're really on the cusp, or already over the cusp of that new era. We hope this new report helps provide a little bit of analytical rigor to this in an independent kind of way, identifying the potential, but also, as we talked about, the challenges. But this is a very difficult area to predict how things are going to go forward, especially when you bring in the human behavior piece of it. So we'll certainly be doing more from the IEA side of things as the global energy organization, focusing especially on high impact, high uncertainty areas. So my colleague George, who's with me, is going to help spearhead a focus on that passenger vehicle side. How does automation, connectivity, and electrification of transport, can we get better numbers than just saying it might half or it might double in terms of the energy impact? Secondly, electricity and smart energy systems. This is really the transformative potential of digitalization in energy systems. How will this play out over time? And then very importantly, digitalization and decarbonization. A number of our presenters have already shown some real decarbonization opportunities. We point out a number in our report. How can policymakers and others really channel and use these digital tools for decarbonization ends? So thanks again for having us participate, and more than happy to answer questions along with other panelists, of course.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's been great to see. I did not have a clue that you could actually know how many teas like a British person makes just by the consumption of energy, but clearly you can. I mean, they actually have tea before they go to bed because it's 11 o'clock. There was like a little spike there going. So really interesting, the presentations that you guys all have done. Before we go into the questions, we do have some questions, and thankfully Kay, Mohammed, and Katerina have been answering some of them by text. But just a question to you guys, the people that are in the audience. Laila, can you throw it? I want to get back to the people who are on the other side listening. So we've heard a lot about decentralization, networks, EVs, and this is all very like network specific, the whole system. So the question is now to you, what you guys are doing in your companies, what are your biggest challenges to move into digital innovation, if you like? Is it that you lack information at the moment? Is it that you find that anything that you can undertake to move in this area is very highly personalized, everything is tailor-made, so therefore you need to hire specific people who can do this for you? Is it that the high cost is, whether it's money or time, is what is putting you off? Is it that you think or you see that you need like different personnel to move in this direction, so to change the whole structure of the company? Is it that you actually need to think about the plan of what you guys are doing in terms of digitalization, and this is what's difficult? Sometimes it's not so much about knowing how to unearth the value, so what tools will help you unearth the value, but to know what the value of whatever data you have is in the first place that may be the problem. And finally, is it other things? So I'm going to give you 5 more seconds to vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Laila, can you show us, please? What is the answer? Right. So actually, most people here see that the problem is the skill set isn't there in terms of the personnel. This is what is the biggest challenge. And there is really not enough information in the value. And really, I'm not really sure that we can actually, find innovation to create a comprehensive plan. Can you put that off? And yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? And this is my question to you guys. We've talked about network systems, the whole system, everything's going to be connected. And it feels very much like this is coming. I'd like to prepare, but I don't know what I can do. Even though digitalization in its different avenues has a lot of potential for companies, of people who are there, whether they're IPPs, they're EPCs, they're, any number of supplier companies, but they're thinking, how do I use the value within my company? And they might not even know what the value is there. So it seems to me like we have a tapestry of solutions and they all kind of interlock together, but I am absolutely lost. As an entrepreneur, or as the owner of my company, what I should do to prepare at the strategic level, at the every single level. So I guess I'd like to change a little bit with this question, the perspective, and just think about these people in the audience. What can they do today? What can they do tomorrow in order to embrace this innovation? And not in the big level sort of network, but in the what can I do as a company? And I don't know who wants to take the question, but I'll be willing to listen to all of you, because there is data and we know there is value there, we just don't know what the value is. So how do we do to find this out? Who wants to take it first? Katerina, go for it.
Sure, thanks for an excellent question, because that's the reason why I created Inrupt. So the driver behind that was the lack of information within corporations on where are the innovations and what are the innovations in energy. And definitely the feedback that I have been receiving has been coming from big companies in terms of their employees individually or departments saying, oh, we are interested to know what's happening on this technology, that's at the organization level, or the individual employees have been saying, yes, I'm interested in coming in, mentoring a startup, advising a startup. And that's the way I see it. You know, it's about energy companies being more open to working with non-energy actors, and it can mean many things. You know, it can be anything as simple as individual employee taking the initiative to engage with a startup that relates to his field of expertise. But it can also be about an organization building an interface, innovation interface with either startups or research teams, and being closer to the market of digitalization that is happening every day.
Okay, anyone else wants to add something to that? Okay, Dave, go for it.
No, thanks. Just to jump on with what Katrina said, I think the biggest thing company right now, especially an energy company, is really to educate yourself in your company. One of those is exactly the first of our 10 policy recommendations on the government side. I think it applies on the private sector side. Build in that skill set. So if you don't have enough folks in your company who truly understand digital technology, where trends are going, et cetera, build up that capability so that you've got really folks on your staff to really understand these possibilities inside and out. Along with that, educate yourself. Certainly a report like the IEA's is hopefully helpful to a number of industry players. There's a lot of other resources out there. This webinar, of course, is perfectly in line with that as well. Educate yourself. I don't think this is one of those areas where you're going to be able to make smart decisions if you're not fully up to speed on what's happening in the world in the digital space, and then also learning lessons from others, cautionary tales, but also good case studies of successes that others have had. There's going to be a number of false starts in this space, and the more you can learn from those examples, the better off your company's going to be.
Thank you very much. Let me ask a last question because we actually ran out of time, but I think it's been a really good webinar. So, you know, at least we've learned a lot here. In terms of the IoT or the Internet of Things, how do you see big data analytics being used to scale projects and bring down costs? This is very specific because, you know, the analytics that can be done and they can actually jump to it. Because I can see that you
so I can give you an example how big data can bring down costs. So we have a tool which is analyzing very different sensor data, for example, for rotating machines. We are and based on this technology, we can do predictive maintenance. So we are checking what happens in the machine, and if we see a small deviation compared to the historical operation of these equipment, we can very fast detect this issue and can start a maintenance before a scheduled maintenance. And just based on this small analytics, we can avoid directly material costs for repairing the assets, because it can have following issues on this asset. So this is just an example. So it doesn't make sense to collect everything, but it is possible. It is important to collect the right information and also to have a certain analytics on top of it. So I wouldn't propose to collect everything, but you have to collect the right one, where you have really a use case for the data.
Mohammed, do you want to add anything? Because you haven't spoken in this question and answer portion, and then we say goodbye, really sadly.
Okay, I guess final words from myself. It's in terms of the transition and change towards Internet of Things, data analytics, etc. As an organization, as a community, we find that, and this is responding to one of the votes as well. Is it an issue of skill set, or so if you add more analytical skills, more machine learning capabilities, etc., is that the way to capture the maximum value? And what we have found, and what some of the large organizations have found, is that digitalization, being more sort of, let's say, data smart and changing more and more to this Internet of Things sort of world, it's actually a wider cultural and behavioral change in the general parts of the organization, as well as bringing those very specific skill sets to really capture the value of digitalization and data and what have you. So those are my parting comments.
All right, well, I'm so sorry that we've run out of time. I actually think that this is an area that gives, there is a lot of further study analysis that we can do. I think maybe we need to organize another webinar where we look at the specific case studies of how some companies have bridged, this difficulty and this challenge. Thank you very much to all of our speakers. Katerina, of course, and Mohammed, and Kay, and Dave, for giving us your time. Thank you to our audience for attending, and thank you very much to our partners, the Clean Energy Business Council. We love working with you guys, and I think we put together very valuable webinars. And hope to see you once again in the new year. Just to let you know, we have a blockchain webinar, and at the end of January, get in touch if you want to sign up for that. This is just the beginning. We're looking at these issues, the big issues, so to speak, but we will get more and more specific over time, and hopefully we'll add to the know-how and the knowledge that is in the industry about this. Again, thank you very much, and hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye.